Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on a soft glam makeup look. So if you want to learn how we accomplish this, stay tuned. To start off, I'm going to be blending in the concealer on her eyelid, and I've actually let this concealer warm up to her skin for about 3 minutes while we were prepping her face. And here I'm just going back and filling in her eyebrows just a little bit, because she does have very good pigmentation on her eyebrows. A little bit of product is going to go a long way. While I'm working on her eyebrows, I'm also going to set a second layer of concealer on her eyelid once again, just to make sure that whenever we do her eyes, that product does stick. To finish up her eyebrows, I'm going to take this flat brush and just clean around the edges from the top and the bottom of her eyebrow. For a smoother look, I took my sponge and blended in her concealer a bit more, and to set it off, I took the Investamatte powder and just added a layer of that over her eyes. For her eyeshadow, I took my Fenty Beauty Snap Shadow shade Come and Get It, and using my M456, I started to build up that shade on her crease, just using windshield wipe motions going back and forth. Using the M441, I started to blend out the shade that we were building up on her crease, and going back between the two brushes, I started to build up her eyes until I got the desired look. For her face, I've already applied concealer under her eyes, and here all I'm doing is just taking the foundation with my finger and applying that all over her face. To add some pop to her eye, I took my 124 and using Velvet Cuffs from the Snap Shadows, I started to apply that on her eyelid, and later on I did go in with my finger, as you can see, just to add a little bit more pigmentation to the eye. Following the same steps, I just went over and applied some more shimmer to her second eye. Now that the concealer has warmed up under the eyes, I took my M173 and started to blend that out. For extra coverage, I'm adding another layer of concealer. To blend in the foundation, I went ahead and took my M439 and I started to blend that into her skin, just using tapping motions, not rubbing the brush over her face. Just going onto her nose and making sure that I get into the creases that she has in between her nose and her face, just to make sure that we get every single spot of the face covered. For a smoother look, I went ahead and took my beauty blender and started to blend in her foundation just a bit more. Before going in and setting her under eyes, I went in with my brush and beauty blender to blend in those creases that started to come up under her eyes, just to make sure we have a smoother look once we put setting powder. Using my flat brush one more time, I'm going to apply some concealer on the bridge of her nose, and then I'm going to apply some contour where is needed. Back to her nose now, I'm going to take my beauty blender one more time and start blending in the concealer. For a more snatched look, I took my E62 and started to contour her nose. To finish off her nose, I'm taking my flat brush once again and just cleaning up a little bit of the contour. To add some color to her skin, I took my E4 and started to blend in the contour that we applied, and if necessary, going back into my palette and adding more shade. While I work on the other side of her face, I went and applied some contour on her forehead, and here all I'm going to do is just start to blend that in now that it has warmed up. started to apply more contour onto her forehead just to add a little bit more shade. And always remember guys, it's always a lot easier to build up the shade rather than you having to take a step backwards. So just work with the product a little at a time. To set the cream contour, I went in with the Maybelline bronzer powder, and I started to apply that powder all over the same areas that we applied the initial contour. To set the concealer, I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty Invisimatte blotting powder, and using my E48, I'm going to apply that under her eyes and also on the bridge of her nose. To set the rest of her face, I'm taking my Maybelline Fit Me Loose finishing powder, and using my e.l.f. brush, I'm going to apply that all over her face. And for the next step, I am mixing two colors from the Snap Shadows, Peach Meat and Butter Rum. And what I'm going to do is just apply that to her cheeks. Mixing these two shades together, I was able to give her a very peachy, bronzy blush. And just to kind of blend this blush into the contour, I did take my e.l.f. face brush and started to blend that in. To finish off her face, I took my M541 and my Kilowatt highlighter, and as you've seen, I did apply that shade onto the tip of her nose, and also going into the highlighted points of her face, I'm going to apply that highlighter. One of my favorite things about this highlighter is that you can take as much product and all it's going to do is just give you a shiny, bright look rather than looking cakey on top of all the makeup. Using her Benefit eyebrow gel, we started to apply that onto her eyebrow, just making sure that we set those eyebrows in place to make sure that we don't have any flyaways while she's having her photo shoot. To finish off her eyes, she did apply mascara on her own, and mixing Come and Get It and Affogato from the Snap Shadows, I took my Fenty Beauty Precision brush and started to apply that under her eyes just to give her a smoky look. That is going to wrap up today's look, guys, and off camera the last thing she did was apply some lipstick and gloss. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I hope you liked today's look.